Well, welcome to the Summer League, of course, My Life in Football Season 2. And I'm really pleased to say we've got a fellow Waltham Abbeyite with me today, which is really, really good because I'm sitting in Waltham Abbey and I know Lee's probably not sitting in Waltham Abbey, but does play for the vets, of course, for Waltham Abbey. And, of course, the legend himself, Mr. Lee Judges. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, thank you very much. Yeah, not too bad, David, not too bad.
And
Apart
that's
from
the and I was going to say that's the first lie. You got some dodgy ribs, haven't you?
oh yeah, and not from CGIs, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, so yeah, I've got a smack in the ribs playing football at the weekend, and I've been in bits since, so still getting the injuries at my age. It's a joke, really, but yeah. So put me out of the cup final as well, David. Cup final this weekend, and so I won't be out of playing that. So gutted about that, and yeah. So but still enjoy playing and or trying to these days. You know, we've got some very very good players in our vet side that have played at a good standard, and they're all like 36, 37. You know, so yeah. So it's been a pleasure to play with them this year. To be fair.
So there's nothing in the rumour that Dave Hodges paid him to do it.
I don't know because he was the one on the camera, like, you know what I mean. So he might have done it for a good camera shot, like, you know what I mean. So and put it on TikTok and make himself a fortune. I don't know, like, you know what I mean. So, never know with Dave, you know. So.
But I mean, Lee, with football, I mean, everybody knows you. Of course, you've sort of become sort of really sort of, I would say, really sort of in the limelight, really famous over the last few years with
Yeah.
AFTV. But I mean, how did it all start for Lee? I mean, where was the first sort of times that you started playing, getting involved in football and playing football yourself?
Well, when I was a kid,
Yeah,
or
I mean, the first sort of times, yeah.
yeah, I actually played for a team. The first ever team I played for was a team called Waltham Wanderers, and they used to play. I say like in Cheshunt, you know where the Crocodile pub is, and on the back of the Broxbourne offices used to be a pitch there, like, you know, and so we played there, and that was my first experience of ever playing for a football team, and you know, orange and black shirts and black shorts, and yeah, I started from there, and then like moved to Cheshunt Youth, which at the time Cheshunt Youth was a real big setup and really really good players and good teams, and if you was good enough to get into there, you done well, and that's where I went from that from youth football to there, like, yeah. So that was where I started playing my youth football before getting spotted and going on to play you know, obviously professional and semi-professional levels. Yeah.
So for those, I mean, from sort of there, I mean, talk us through that sort of professional side from it and semi-professional. So who was the clubs, for people that don't know, that actually sort of saw you and picked you up?
Should I say which team it was? You know what I mean? So obviously when I was a kid, I went to Spurs. Obviously, like back in the day, that Cheshunt had their training ground there, and the man that spotted me was a fella called Roy Bailey, who used to be on the Spurs scouting thing, but he was also done the local paper and all that. Very very famous in around the Cheshunt area and all that. Like, so Roy Bailey was the one that took me over to Spurs when I was about 14, I think, and played there till I was about 16. So yeah, so that's where it went from there. Obviously, then I'm an August-born person, David. So through school and all that, I was the youngest in my school. So I found it physically very very tough at school, physically, and struggled at school really all through school because I was a year behind in the development thing and all that, like. But because at school, because I was August born, I could play the year below when it comes to playing for club and like for Spurs and for my club sides at the time, like Cheshunt and all that. I was like a year below what I was at school. So from being one of the youngest in my year at school and find it very very difficult. Where I look back on it now, funny enough, and my manager, the school teacher, and that put me on the wing, and I used to play up front or centre midfield, and always when I look back on it now, I felt like, you know, I was just being shunned out onto the wing. But realistically, if I look back on it now, he probably like felt I was good enough, but not strong enough. So, but he wanted me to play, so they put me out on the wing. Funny enough, I've ended up playing out on the wing now for the Vets, so I probably understand a little
Full
bit more.
circle.
Yeah, so I've gone full circle where I'm not as physically strong now, obviously playing that football. So yeah, so then from like playing in that sort of side, I was like the youngest, struggling at the school team, district. So I played a district and county, but like in and out. And then, but then the year below, I was obviously the oldest in my group, so I was a little bit stronger than everybody else, and that's when I started to get a little bit better. And then, you know, like play for the county and things like that. At that age, I found a lot easier, like you know.
So, I mean, when you get picked up by someone like Spurs, is that sort of first feeling coming through sort of the young mind comes across and thinking, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to be playing for the first team in a few years' time. I mean, is
Yeah.
that, do you know?
Listen, I think that like all kids, you know, I actually thought I was probably much better than what I was. You know, people keep telling you you're this and you're that and you're good. Then when I went over to Spurs, I realised I was just one of many. You know what I mean? There was better players than me, and the standard of football was very, very quick. And you know, I was one of those players that, you know, put it about a little bit, like had a little bit of an attitude about me, if I'll be honest. When I look back on it, I regret it. But you know, and when you're left out, you know, you do things at that sort of standard. They've got hundreds of people that are as good as you. You know what I mean? You're not, what's the word, like unique in any sort of a way. And you know, I got sent off a few times, and you know, basically like other players come in and play and do just as good as you, and before you know it, you're out. And that's how it was for me, like you know. So you know, attitude probably wasn't right at that stage, and yeah, that's how it was, I suppose, really.
I mean, from there, I mean, any sort of like big names in your sort of year group there at Spurs?
I'd say the players that I used to play with, like quite a lot. Steve Sedgley went on to make it. Paul Turner was another one that I played with. Didn't quite make it. Andy Edmonds was another one. All these good players, but none of them went on and made it, as far as I know. Like you know, there probably was one or two that I probably don't remember their names and whatever, and then probably did. But they were the sort of ones that around my. I used to still in contact with Steve now, and we had some battles when we was younger. And if anybody knows Steve Sedgley, you know, without being horrible, was an average Premier League player. Still fantastic to get to the Premier League, but in the standard that when we was going through the youth, he was exceptional. So when you look at these players that have made it as a pros, you know how good are they? How good must they have been? Like you know what I mean? So yeah, so that was it. Like and Stephen was you know with Spurs and around that, but he chose to go to Coventry, and you know the rest is history. He obviously went and signed for them, played for them, and then obviously transferred down to Spurs. So you know, yeah, like they've, you know, like, if someone threw some names at me, I would probably remember. Like you know, funny enough, John Pratt was the coach who I bumped into a little while ago at a do, and he was tough, tough. Remember him being tough, and funny enough, I was saying to him, "Oh, you know, he was coaching all that." He didn't remember me as a kid because he goes through so many of them, but like, obviously I remember him, and you know, he said, "Well, we had to be tough because that's what it was like to become a professional footballer at that sort of stage." You know, where I think it's a little bit different now. It was you know a dog eat dog world then, David. You know, if you didn't do it, you was. If you did do it, you was in. If you didn't, you was out. Like you know, so. But I was you know, a fairly decent youth player. You know, a young player at that sort of time. So, but I always found it very, very difficult physically. You know, until I was a little bit older. But you know, but when I was younger, I did find it very, very difficult.
What was it like though when you know when you get called in? I'm assuming it's the old style of other people I was spoken to. You get called into the office every year, whether they keep you on, not keeping you on, that sort of thing. I mean, what's that like though? As you said, like 16-year-old going into that sort of office and getting told that, you know, maybe sort of like your world's coming to an end because all of a sudden you're getting shelled by, you know, by Tottenham.
Yeah, yeah, well, exactly. You know, you mask it. And I always admire players that carry on and keep going. And you know, you hear all stories of all players, don't you? Even the top players now playing for England. I was listening to Aaron Ramsdale's interview. He got like released by Bolton, and you know, blah blah blah, blah another team. You know, and they keep going. For me, it was like, I didn't really want to be that anyway. I didn't really like Spurs anyway. I didn't want to do that. Want to go over the Arsenal anyway, and sort of mask the what's the word? The disappointment of it all, like the rejection. You know, like the rejection of it all. I suppose you don't want to be rejected. Like, you know, I got sent off a few times, so I said, that's why they got rid of me, because I was sent off. Really, like, you know, like, because you didn't really want the rejection of saying, well, really, I didn't make it because I wasn't quite good enough. You know, I mean, like, I played quite good enough. I didn't have the confidence to be quite good enough, if that makes sense. If I know what I know now, I think I probably could have made it. But a lot of people could say that, do you know what I mean? But at the time, you just, you know, you don't really sort of feel. I had a chance to go on a scholarship to America as well at the same time, to go over to America, and I turned that down because it was like, it's not like it is now. Do you know what I mean? Where you got FaceTime and everything like that. It was one phone call a week, and you was going to be away. Funny enough, one of the guys that did take up that offer lives in America now, got family over there and everything like that. So I knew that if I'm probably going to leave and go to America, I might never come back and everything like that. Like, you know, so it was, you know, and I've always said this, and probably had to make that two major decisions in my life when you're 15, 16, you know. It's a tough thing when I look back on it now. Like, I think, like, you know, you've got to make those decisions. You know, what do you want to be and what you don't want to be as a kid. You know what I mean? So it was tough, really. Yeah.
Because I know, you know, people, you know, I managed teams for Waltham Abbey, and had a young lad there that got to, you know, sort of like turned down by Spurs, played for them for, you know, 4 or 5 years, and got turned down, came and sort of played for us, and it was like his dad said, he said, like, he's just not the player in his head, in anything he's doing, because he's been let go by like a Tom Clark. And it took him a good sort of like 6 months before, you know, he's banging in goals from all over the shot and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? But it took him that time period.
Took a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, everybody always asked me, I played in some fantastic football teams along my time, and people go to me, who's the best goalkeeper you ever played with? And it was a fella called Martin Coomber. Best goalkeeper by a country mile. Now, he was a year older than me, but lived in Waltham Abbey, Holbrook area, and he was at Tottenham a lot longer than I was, years before, and was always promised, you know, you're going to be the best goalkeeper in the world, and you know, but you're going to be the number. We'll take you on. He had all of that all through his school life and everything, like, you know. And when it come to it, he didn't get the job, didn't get the gig. He got released, and I never forget it. We're driving through, like, me and my dad were driving through the Abbey one day, see him at a bus stop, and picked him up. And a couple of years later, and I said to him, you know, what you doing now? And he says, I'm doing nothing, not playing and all that. Like, and my dad said to him, come play for my team on a Sunday, and he did. And then he went on to play, you know, youth semi-pro after that. He went semi-pro. But, you know, he was another one that, you know, that probably because of the rejection, I don't know, like, you know, but I still say to this day, it was the best goalkeeper I ever played with, you know, and he was promised everything, like, you know, so it was just like that at that age, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit different now, but, you know, I suppose it comes down to you're all promised sort of things and all things like that. And you know, it don't materialise. And you know, I was fortunate that with my dad that he was running a Sunday team, and I just carried on playing on a Sunday, and you know, going over the Arsenal for a little while, masking the disappointment and the rejection, I suppose.
So from there, then, from that release, you just went back to playing Sunday morning football literally on the local park for your dad's team.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So not much
Charlie
difference to
Nicholas.
what you'd left behind, really.
No, that's it. Like, you know, it's funny how you go down you know, you circle back, didn't you, and to where it starts again. Like, you know, and funny enough, you know, if I score a goal in the vets team, whether it's over the park or on Abbey's bowling green of a pitch, I still get that same buzz as when I've scored in front of big crowds or whatever. Like, you know, it's just how it is. And yeah, so that was it for me. Like, Charlie Nicholas just signed for Arsenal as well. Like, you know, and he was my idol, come become my idol. So I was sort of going to the Arsenal 1 week, and you know, like the home games and the occasional away game, because I was only about 16, 17 at the time. And I've done that for a year or two. And then like my dad's team was playing on a Sunday, and it might have been probably about a bit overweight, because you go like drinking and with the games and things like that. And we played over at Cuffley, and a fella called Steve Sale was running Cuffley's first team at the time. What was watching the game, and afterwards just pulled me and just said to me, "Look, you know, do you fancy playing Saturdays?" And I said, "Well, not really, like, you know, going over the Arsenal and all that." And he'd done a thing with me, which I asked him years later why he'd done that, because it was a strange thing. He said, "Look, go to the Arsenal when they're at home and play for me when Arsenal are away." So I said, "All right, then I can do that for you." Like, so like Arsenal would play at home and I wouldn't play. Then when we was away, like Arsenal was away, I'd play on the Saturday, like, you know. And eventually, like, I started getting enjoying it more. And one day I asked him, I said, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Because I knew that once you got back into it, that you'd knock the Arsenal on the head and carry on playing." So I'd done that for about a year. So I got a lot to thank him for, because it got me actually back playing at a decent level. 17, 18, I think. Then I was around about that time, and then I went to Hendon after there, like, you know. So yeah, so that's when it all started. Like, then in the non-league path, then that's where it come from there.
Who was manager? Where were Hendon playing at the time? Because they're at Silver Jubilee Park now, aren't they?
Yeah, Claremont Road, like, you know, the famous thing there. Ted Hardy was the manager then, and you know, as probably like non-league, you know, a lot of people remember him. Brilliant manager, brilliant manager. I tell you, who was over there at the time when I played. Dermot Drummy was playing then, like, you know, he's passed on now, but Dermot was a top guy. I was only, if I was 18, I must have been 18, 19, round about that time. Couldn't have been no older than that. But yeah, I was in and around the first team squad, not getting much thing of it all, like, you know. But Ian Dowie was playing up front for Hendon then, and Ted pulled us into the office, me and my dad, never forget it, and turned around and said, "Look, Ian Dow, I'm up for competition with Ian Dow." Well, I'll go on to admit the problem that I had when I was a footballer was that I could score goals. I scored goals, but I don't know whether the centre forward was my best position or midfield. No one really ever, you know. I ended up playing midfield for a lot of my non-league career later on. But when you know, everybody wants a goal scorer, don't they? I could score goals, so I really should have probably. So if someone would have got hold of me younger and said, "No, you're a midfield player, and we're going to play in midfield," I probably would have done better than what I did. You know what I mean? But anyway, going back to that story, he pulled us into the office, and he said that you're a better footballer than Ian Dowie. But Ian was probably a couple of years older than me, but he was physically stronger. And so he was always going to get in front of me from that thing, like, you know. So I had a choice in whether, you know, we said, I want you to stay. But I wanted to play then. I've had the buzz of a little bit of playing in front of crowds, you know. You go over, you know, like, it's a bit at that time at Hendon, they had decent crowds and things like that. So I wanted to do a little bit of that, like, you know. And then so I decided to leave, and that's when I went to Waltham Abbey. And about 2 months later, Ian Dowie left for Luton, like, you know what I mean? So you know, you never know in football, do you? What would have happened if I'd have stayed or not? Like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, but then, you know, like going over to Hendon at that time, I'll never forget it. This is when the North Circular wasn't the North Circular; it was like, you know, a mission to get to. And there was times when, in those days, I don't know if it is still these days, but like you had to catch the coach. You know, you couldn't just drive, like, say, like, you know, it sounds silly, but if you was playing at Cheshunt, you'd have to drive to Hendon to
Yeah.
get on the coach to Hendon and like. Later on, it didn't evolve like that, but that was it at the time. And I remember getting home at 3 o'clock in the morning once. I had to be up at 6 for work, and I just said, oh, Dad, you know what I mean? This is too much for me, like, you know. And so I made a decision then to go more local, like, you know.
And you saying about that travelling time, I mean, the actual, just interrupting your story just for a second, they've just literally announced the new leagues for next year. And in one of those leagues is a club called Mousehole that are the furthest southerly club in the country. And their travel this year is over 4,000 miles this season that's coming up.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, like, you know what I mean? So, like, listen, you know, someone said to me very, very long while ago, like, the higher you go, the more travelling you do. You know what I mean? And that is so true. So, you know, that's part and parcel of it, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, it takes up all your time, doesn't it? Like, you know, but yeah, so and that's how it was, like, yeah.
But Waltham Abbey, though, I mean, Waltham Abbey, I was over there as well as sort of the youth chairman as well. But I mean, what was that like playing over the Abbey? Because I mean, it's a lot different to them days to what it is now. I mean, before, you know, probably when you were playing over there, it was like playing on Brighton Beach compared to playing on Wembley now.
It is unreal, like, you know. It had the famous slope, and of course, if anybody goes over to the Abbey now, you can still see it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, where they've how much of a slope that it was. Now, that I remember going over there, and it would be raining and raining. Never had a game called off. Like, it was always because just games on, and it was a great time to be playing. We had some great players over there. It was a good social team as well. Like, you know, I remember once we played, I think we played Northwood, or so, I can't remember what team we played. No, might be Northwood, might be wrong. And we'd gone over there, maybe nicked a result there, and they had a disco in there at night. And you know, like, the chairman and the manager had phoned up the wives saying that you know, the minibus had broken down, and we ended up staying here all night for this disco. That was just the way it was, you know what I mean? And so they were good. That was good times. Tough league, physically very, very tough. Again, the manager, when I first started playing for them, would stick me out on the wing. I'll never forget that. He said to me, "Oh, I'm going to put you out on the wing and have you play about 10 games, and then you go on and into you know, we'll put you up front again." Again, that thing with where I think people weren't too sure what to do with me and whatever. And I remember playing about 15 games wide, and I remember saying to my dad, I said, he promised me I'll be back up front, and if I ain't up front this week, like, I'm going to leave. My dad said, no, don't do that. You know, you don't want to keep looking like you're quitting and all that. You know, you're playing, you're in the team, so, you know. And then I went that game, and funny enough, I was up front, and I played up front to the end of the season, and I got Player of the Year over there that year, so that was good. And then I think the next year was the year they done the pitch. I think, David, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure it was, and it was a catastrophe. It was a real, like, you know, games being called off left, right, and centre because I remember, like, you know, like, people going over there with buckets. It was just a really bad time. So we were getting no momentum going into it then, and it fell on a few little tough times there. Like, you know, I was on a contract over there as well, and that caused a bit of a problem because some players were on a contract, some weren't, and I don't know if other teams can relate to that. If I think when you look back on it, you should probably have everybody on it with a little small budget, or everybody, or none at all, or whatever. Like, but because of that, it caused a little bit of friction in the camp, like, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, do you remember what your first game was when you went over when he started at the Abbey? What was the debut for them? I
You
mean,
know,
what?
I can't remember. I can't remember. All I remember, I think we played Walthamstow Pennant probably on the second game of my time. There's a fella over there called Tony Fernandez, whose boy played for Stevenage for a little while ago, and I sort of took Tony's place in the team, and they was going really well or whatever, like, you know, and one of the good sides and that. And we was 1-0 down with a minute to go, and I swear to you, I missed from a yard. I put it over the bar. It was easier to score. It was harder to put over the bar than score. Put it this way, like, you know what I mean. And I missed it, and I remember someone turning around and he goes, "He took my place." And someone in the crowd said, "He must be, cool. You must be shit if if he took your place." You know what I mean? So yeah, and I remember hearing that, like, you know, and then about a minute later, I picked up a knee injury. And had to come off, so it was a nightmare game that was for me. Very early in my Waltham Abbey time, and saying I've always remembered two things from that is that Tony and me become very, very good friends anyway. And he come in the dressing room because I was in the dressing room on my own. I never forget, he walked in the dressing room and just turned around and said, like, head up, you know what I mean? We've all done that, you know what I mean? And that was all he said. And you know, he could have been going home laughing and whatever, like. But that was a good thing about Waltham. When I went over to Hendon, it was very cliquey over at Hendon. I remember a little story about that was that they wouldn't really talk to you. It was very, very difficult to get team thing in it. And Dermot Drummy, who actually become manager of Ware, and he took me over Ware many years later, turned around to me and said, "Look, don't take that personal. That's because they're on money over here and they don't want to lose their money. You know what I mean? They've got like mortgages to pay and things like that, you know." So it was, but I didn't want to be like that. I always wanted to make people welcome. And then when I went over to the Abbey to have that incident and Tony to come up to me and say that meant a lot, like, you know. So I like to think that I'd done that for try to make people happy and part of a good team atmosphere and bonding and all that, like, you know. So yeah, and I think I remember coming back after about 4 or 5 games, you know what I mean, and having to really prove myself then. And unfortunately, I did. I remember we played Cheshunt a couple of weeks after, back from the injury, and I managed to nick a couple of goals there, and it went from there. So, and had a very, very good time at the Abbey, like, yeah, very, very good time.
How long was you over the Abbey for?
About two and a half years. I think I never would have left. But because of this pitch and everything there, it was not going good. And St Margaret's then come in for me, who were certainly not as big a club as Waltham Abbey, but they had some really, really good players over there, and it was such a professionally run club over there. There was a little bit of money over there at the time, and it wasn't the money side of it that went there. They had some good players. I felt we could go on and do something. So I went to Cheshunt for a little while, and I had to make this decision. You know, when like you go to a club and one manager's on the phone every week, come, you know, over the summer, and the other one said, "Yeah, come over, like, if you want," sort of thing, like, you know what I mean. And so in the end, Cheshunt was a bigger club, obviously, like, you know, but I ended up going to St Margaret's for a couple of years after that, like, you know, and obviously we won the league with that team. It was well run club then, Dave. You know what I mean? Like, every game away game coaches were there, and we actually didn't. Funny enough, no one got paid on a weekly basis. Like, it was like all done at the end. You know, at the end of the season, it was a clever little scheme that they'd done over there. It was like you'd get paid, but you'd collect it at the end of the season. So if you got fined, there was like a couple of dues a year you had to pay for, and then blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the season, on the presentation night, you get an envelope with how much money you got. And it was all listed down what you got. And it was a good thing because you could get an holiday out of it, you know, and pay for a nice little trip abroad or something, like, you know what I mean? So it was a good time, and we was a good side for a couple of years over there, like as well. So yeah, enjoyable times.
They're from St Margaret's. I mean, where was we off
Funny
to?
enough, then that was when I got the call from Dermot to come over to Ware. So I went then to Ware, and I went to Ware really on the really because of Dermot. But Johnny Ward just took the job at Cheshunt, and Johnny Ward's a great guy. I love him, like, you know, and he asked me to go there. So I'd done a little bit of Ware and ended up transferring into Cheshunt, like, you know, and we had about a year at Cheshunt where it was like a real, really, we was in a bit of a relegation battle over there. Funny enough, we stayed up, and Ware went down that year. And it was, even though it was a horrendous season, like, you know what I mean, I met some great players over there, great bonding times, and you know, and that's the only time I've ever sort of been in a relegation battle, if I'll be honest. But and we managed to survive, and it was just like winning the league on that last day, like, you know. So I had a couple of years at Cheshunt, and then went back to St Margaret's again for where I played like for a few more years after that. And then the last club I played for was Hertford. I had a couple of years at Hertford. I finished playing when I was 39. My last game, I'll never forget my last game, Dave, was we played Ware on Boxing Day. Now, if anybody knows about non-league football and that, Ware versus Hertford used to bring in a massive crowd, massive crowd on a Boxing Day. It was massive. You know, and I'm talking like at least 1,000 on a Boxing Day. It was like, mate, it was a great atmosphere. I played that day, and then so I say that was Boxing Day, and then the Saturday was the 28th. We went to Whitton. I'll never forget it. Whitton Town away, and we was getting pumped in midfield. I was playing midfield then. We was getting pumped, couldn't get in that. So I thought, right, okay, they're not going to ball around us. It's time to start kicking a few of them, like, you know, and trying to get back into it that way. And I couldn't even do that, you know what I mean? I couldn't even get near them to kick them, like, you know. And that was it then. I think on that day then, if I remember rightly, I sort of said, no, I'm done. The manager got sacked the next day. And I ended up taking over the reserves, doing the reserves to the end of the season. Like, I was 39 then. I knew that I was done. But I was quite pleased to be still picking up a little wage at 39, and yeah, so that was it. Like that's when I stopped playing football.
So when did so you finished playing football now? I mean, did you go straight into vets, or did you start your business? Was you already started your business up, or was your business later?
Business was going. I was doing my business then. I always which was a great thing. I had my business where I had the contracts for Tesco's from the dry cleaning, and Tuesdays and Thursdays was at Cheshunt. So that worked out well. Like Tuesdays you'd play games, and Thursday you'd be training, and they were like earlier finishes. So I always used to work around the football and all that, like, you know. When I had the shop, I always had someone working on a Saturday and things like that, like, you know. So yeah, so then I finished that and then ended up managing St Margaret's for a couple of years, the first team for a few. I took over them. I'm very proud of this. Took over them when they were bottom of the league, and when I left, we was Champions League top four, like, you know. So kept them in. We was top for a little while, and there was teams like Leighton that were paying pretty well. Royston were paying pretty good money at the time, and there was a few too. Dunstable Town, I think they ended up winning it as well, paying lots of money. And the good old St Margaret's, we was on a budget of £20, like, you know what I mean. So I done quite well, but yeah, there was always part of me wanted to go, but always when the Emirates, because all through this time I've been playing football. If Arsenal were playing at home, or you know, I'd manage to go to the game. If say it was a Sunday game, I'd go and watch the Arsenal. So, or midweek games, I'll still go. So when the Emirates era come up, I always sort of said, like, I'll retire then, and that's what. Funny enough, I did. Like I finished playing in 2006. And that's when the new stadium opened. So I was always trying to hang on, and then I thought, well, now they've got the new stadium, I can watch a few Arsenal games. So when I was managing, I was still going to doing a little bit of the Arsenal thing. But then for me, I thought, oh, I want to start going to the Arsenal again. Even when I was playing, even at good level and all that, my dad, like, God bless him, used to come to all the games. And if Arsenal had scored, he'd come down and stand and go 1-0 up, or so I'd be looking like every now and then 2-0, like, you know what I mean. If they was losing, he'd just put his thumb down. all through my stuff, like, you know what I mean. So footballing time. So yeah. So then I thought, like, right, I'm going to start going over to the Arsenal. So and I tell you what, which is a funny thing, probably guys that have retired will know this. Like, when you're in it, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and all that, like, then all of a sudden you come out of it, they don't realise how I had the time to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and what a commitment that it was to just do that. But you just naturally done it, didn't you? Like, you know. And then, yeah, so then I started going to the Arsenal, and the rest is history from there. Like, yeah.
So how long? So were you surprised just by you going over to the Arsenal and you're going over there to watch the games, etc., etc.? And then how did the situation come about? I'm assuming it was meeting Robbie. I mean, how did that all come about, and how did you start then? Or was you doing something, met somebody else, and how did all that social media stuff come about in the first place for you?
Well, what happened was it's an unbelievable thing. I just started going to the Arsenal, and then one day, funny enough, the game that it all kicked off with was where I got invited over to Hertford to watch a game over there, and I didn't go to the Arsenal Aston Villa game. Arsenal lost 3-1, and that's when AFTV kicks off. Like, there was a couple of interviews, and everybody was going mad. A fella called Chris Hudson done a video,
that's the viral one, yeah.
Yeah, the one that went viral, like,
yeah.
And that's the one that, I always say it was a fantastic one. Chris is a local lad, comes from Waltham Cross as well. Didn't know him, and I remember someone saying, "Have you seen this?" And I went, "Wow!" And it spread home. So I was going to games, and you walk past it and see, like, Robbie there, like, not the big handful of people around it and all that. Like, I had no real interest in doing it and all that. Like, and then one day, we played Swansea at home, lost 2-1. We'd lost to Man United on the weekend, and I'll never forget, me and my mate, a few of my mates had shot off down the pub, and me and my mate, we'd sort of like stuck around, and we're just going through the stations to get to the station, and that's where it was. And I said something, and someone, and I swear to you, they all at some said, "Why don't you get on there and say that?" So I said, "Yeah, give me a mic and I will." Like, And I remember, like, it just opened, the path opened, and I thought, oh well, I've got to say what I've got to say now. So I said what I had to say, and that was it. I walked off. I didn't have Twitter. Didn't have. I had Facebook, I think, at that stage, but nothing else. No social medias of any shape or form. Yeah, and done that, and I didn't even really understand what was going on and all that. Like, and I my mate Tony did a little bit, so I rang him up about on the way home. I think on the train, I said to him, like, "Oh, I think I've done something stupid, Tony." He's going, "What you've done?" I said, "I'll bloody give an interview on that AFTV, it was Arsenal Fan TV then." I said, like, and I said, like, "Is there any way I can get rid of it and not do it?" He went, "Oh no, you can't do that. It's like, it's out there now forever." So he said, "Let me check it out and see what, I'll come back to you." So he's gone back, I don't know what it is, how to get on it. I don't even know how to do that. Like, YouTube, and even heard of it. So he's come back, he's gone, "Oh my God, it's going viral." So I said, "What's that mean? What's viral mean?" He says, "It like everybody's watching it, like it's gone mad." So I thought, "Oh, Tom, get it switched off, He said, "I can't do that, like, can't do it. It's done." I'm going, "Oh no, like, I swore on it and all that. I've got to go Tesco's tomorrow." And these are the things that are going through my head, like, what are they gonna, like, be happy with it and whatever? Like, I think, "Oh no, Tone, what can I do?" 3 o'clock in the morning, my phone's ringing, like, I've picked it up, and Tony's on the phone. He's gone, "Oh my God, you know what I mean? This is going crazy, like, you know what I mean? This is going mad." So I didn't know what to expect. I get a phone call in the morning. What's the fella now that does Tottenham? Alistair Gold. Is it Alistair Gold?
Alistair
So,
Gold,
so
yeah.
he was doing the Mercury at the time.
That's it, yeah.
But I known him through my footballing time and all that, like, you know, and he knew he got my number and all that. He was on the phone. He's going, "Oh, they do an interview for the Mercury for this interview that you done." He says, "Gone bloody crazy, like, you know what I mean? And can you do it like?" So he's gone like Gary Lineker's talking about it, Piers Morgan, blah 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 blah. They've had a big argument about it and all that. So I didn't even know what was going on. So I said, "Yeah, all right." They said, "He's come round my house. We've done this interview." The bloody swine! I know he's a Tottenham fan as well, like, because he couldn't have put the angriest photo of me, like, you know when you're losing it, like, you know, like he put that on the back page of it, like, you know what I mean, and done this article, and it just from that time it went crazy. I went to work that day, and people coming up to me and saying that was fantastic and all that, like, you know, and that interview, Dave, that changed my life to what it is now, which is incredible, because it did. That was one. It was obviously that was the main thing, because like obviously it given me the other things like that. Anyway, like, you know, I go to. Funny enough, we're playing Arsenal Spurs the following game. You remember when Arsenal, I think, winning 1-0, Coquelin got sent off, and Harry Kane scored a couple of goals, and then Sanchez scored in the last minute, 2-2. Great game, great atmosphere. And my phone's going mad, absolutely mad about, like, you know, and it's all on BT Sport. Have you seen this fella, Ian Wright, saying, "Oh, you know, what about this video?" Rio Ferdinand was saying about it. So it all kicked off again and went up another level. And anyway, yeah, you know, like it turned out to have 5.5 million views, that video. And of course it went viral, and then the rest is from there. I've never met Robbie before in my life. Walking out of the ground at Tottenham, he said to me, "Oh, do you want to do it?" I went, no, I don't want to do no more of this and all that. Like, that's it, like, you know. But anyway, I thought, because I'd gone a little bit mad on that one, and I thought like it might do me a little bit good to just do one where I'm calm, because we've had a good result, so people would see that I'm not a nutter, that I'm quite normal. So I done that one there, and Robbie said, "Oh, look, you know, you're great. Can you come on? You know, we've been getting great reviews and everything like that." And yeah, and the rest is history from that, like, you know. So yeah, and I was like, you know, just going on it every week, and then COVID struck, David. That was the thing that changed my life completely. Completely changed my life to where I am now, because the business, obviously, like with COVID and everything, like dry cleaning, if people don't know, like, you know, like even with it, I lost the Tesco's contract, not through any fault of my own. The people at Tesco's only work a couple of days a week now, so where I was getting 5 days a week out from that work, people weren't going to work, going in suits no more and things like that, or even going out. So the dry cleaning game sort of has taken a big hit. Weren't earning the money that it was. And I got a phone call from Robbie saying to me, we're allowed to do these watch-alongs. I said, "Well, what's that then?" So he said, like, the watch-alongs are, we watch the game and people watch us. So I said, "Well, no one's going to watch that. No one's going to. Who's going to watch? You're going to watch the game. You don't want to watch people like me watching a game, you know." So by this time, I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter and all that. Like, now I've had to get that, like Instagram. Like been told to go on Instagram and things like that. So I'm getting to know all the social side of it, like social media side. So there, yeah. So that was it. Like, and he said, "Look, I'll give you some money to come on down the studio and do these watch-alongs." So I said, like, "Well, yeah, you know, well, no one's going to watch it, but if you're prepared to pay me a little bit, I'll take it, because that'll make up for what I'm losing out of the shop." And that's how it was. And the watch-alongs were all of a sudden not just a 5-minute interview; they were sort of like 2 hours. People got to see your personality and things like that. Said, "Oh, he seems quite a funny guy," and whatever. And I started getting lots more attention from it there. And the greatest thing about those watch-alongs is that there's a minute's delay on those things, and they done everything to try and get that so there weren't a delay. But it turned out to be the best thing, because what would be happening was
I know what you're going to say because I did it myself.
Yeah, exactly. So you're sitting there watching the game, and then all of a sudden there's a goal. Like, well, you now switch to us.
Yeah,
You know what's coming, but we don't.
yeah.
And it was TV gold. It was TV gold. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and of course, then people would like go like, you know, oh, he's gonna do his nut in a minute. He's gonna, you know, like, you know, and of course they'd score, and there was the reaction, like, you know. So, and it just went absolutely mad for me. Then that's when it just went mad for me. Obviously, like then, you know, like bloody memes have come out and all that. I didn't even know what they were. You know what I mean? But there's been a few of them, I can tell you, and it's just absolutely now changed my life. You know, so to the point, Dave, where when the lease come up for the shop to be renewed, I felt like, you know, I didn't really want to take it on for another 4 or 5 years or whatever. Like, so I made the decision that I was doing well enough to be able to go full time, and that was a couple of years ago. And you know, I haven't looked back since, Dave. It's been you know, my life now is just, you know, I get paid to go all around the country, the world, you know, America and places like that, watching the Arsenal and getting paid for it, all on one sort of rent. You know, unbelievable, really.
I have to start learning to lose me rag a bit more.
Yeah, yeah. Like, you know what? I tell you a funny story. I tell you a funny story is that when I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time, she always used to say, because I was playing football and you know, get chooses for, why don't you give it up? You'll never make nothing in football. You won't do. You never do this, never do that. And I've done some adverts. I've done things for the BBC now, but I've done these adverts, and it went out on social media and it got put on Facebook. I think it was the one I was doing during the World Cup, and I got a message from her going, I've just seen your advert come up on my phone." She said, "I'd just like to say that I was wrong. You have made yourself saying that. Well done," like, you know what I mean? That was all it was, you know what I mean? So that was good enough, you know what I mean? So yeah, so like
So
yeah,
are you still doing your own channel? Is that still going?
I still do my own channel. Still got that. That's got about 40,000 subscribers now. But it's difficult because when you're doing other things all the time, it's hard to commit to. The thing was with when you would do the channels, and I don't mean this big Italy and things like that. You know, you was doing it in the evening and whatever, like. But now, because you're doing stuff in the day, so you come and do it all day. You don't really want to be doing it in the evening as well. Do you know what I mean? So you want to have sometimes you just want to have a little bit of you time.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, so yeah, so like, but like, we still do that a couple of times a week and enjoy that, like, you know. And at the end of it, the greatest thing about football, Dave, as you well know this, is that every week it changes. You know, there's always something to talk about. And so there's always going to be content because of football, whatever it'll be, like, you know, and to talk about the game you love. And the greatest thing for me is that that people want to listen to my views, which, you know, is incredible. Very, very proud of that. Like, and you get to meet ex-players and players, and they know who you are. You know, it's been a gift, really. Like, yeah, it's an unbelievable gift.
I think it's one of those things, though, isn't it? I think people, you know, on that sort of AFTV, you look at it and it's like everybody's got their favourite people to sit and watch the interviews for. They won't probably watch them all, but they'll watch, you know, their favourites. I remember, you know, always watching it, and, you know, still do, but it's one of those things you used to pick out yourself. It used to be Troops and it used to be DT, but for different reasons. You know, you knew DT was going to lose his mind every week. You knew Troops were, you know, after time he couldn't understand what he was saying, but he would be on a rant. And then, and also it used to annoy the missus because she used to get the ump with me listening to him. And then with yourself, you get the common sense. So you'd get that sort of thing about it where you look at the thing, and you knew if you'd got the ump, you knew full well, because yours was always the first one you'd look for, and you'd always know then that DT and Troops were going to lose the plot. So you
and go from there. And, like, you know, look, Troops has done fantastically well for himself. You know, he's out in America now and things. It just opens you up to so many opportunities. One of the best things that I've ever had, like, you know, I've obviously met Edu for all of this and had conversations with him, and, you know, for him to turn around and go, "I look at your videos to to make, not make decisions, but to gauge how things are. You know what I mean? I thought that was a marvellous compliment. Like, you know, he says you're always moaning, but you know, like I said, you know, but he said, like, I look at that to gauge how the fans are feeling, and you know what a compliment that is. Like, you know, so listen, I've met the fella from security of Arsenal, because they get to know you, and they tell you that the players do watch it. And over the years, it's evolved into something different now to what it was a few years ago, when it got a lot of hate and things like that. Because of that, now you've got different shows, new people have come on. It's become much more, I would say, professional. You know, if you go to the studio, that's a massive studio. Like, you know, I've been fortunate enough to go on a set at the BBC and other big things. AFTV, it's just the same as that. It's very, very professional. It's got people behind the scenes, unbelievable, you know, creative workers, things like that. And you know, it's just gone on and gone on, and the opportunities are there, which, you know, you never get, which are there for everybody if you're lucky enough to be able to do that, like, you know, and then to get to meet players, you know, like the players like of the George Graham era, if I'm being really honest, were the ones that I was close to, you know, getting to know all those guys, and you know, and walking into, you know, you walk into a place, and that is fantastic. And as I said earlier on, you know, one of the reasons that I followed Arsenal home and away at the time was through Charlie Nicholas, and so I've done a show and a podcast with Charlie Nicholas now, like, you know what I mean? And so an absolute dream to meet him. And then, like, when I met him at this show, like, for him to come over and go, "Hello, Lee, how are you?" and all that. So, yeah, money can't buy that, David. You know what I mean? Like, when your idols know who you are and whatever. And yeah, it's fantastic.
But I mean, with it though, I mean, what you still see sort of some people being very negative around what Robbie produces and stuff, and they're not real Arsenal fans, and not this and not that. I mean, how do you cope with that? Do you sort of blank out all that sort of stuff when it does or has happened, or you know?
Yeah, it's very hurtful, you know, at first. I'm not going to lie, because you know, you want everybody to like what you do and whatever. But you know, it don't matter who you are and what you do. If you've got 100 people liking it, there's always one or two that are not going to like it. You know what I mean? It's the same with football. If you play well, you know what I mean? Not even you're going to be a fan's favourite one stadium and then not another. You know, another team. It's just the way it is. There was a time, David, when I didn't like the way the channel was going myself. You know what I mean? I didn't really want to be a part of it anymore.
Was that the time when he missed you out?
Yeah. No. Funny enough, it wasn't, to be honest. You know what I mean? When they missed me out, that was something that really, like, when they done that, I'd say that was. I'll tell you that story because it is a good story. We still got time. Still got time.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of the best days and one of the worst days of my life. And I'll tell you why, because Ian Wright was going to do a little speech at this do we're going to, like, you know what I mean? So anyway, I've gone to the thing. I didn't even know there was going to be an award there or anything like that. Weren't bothered to this day. Not bothered about an award or whatever, like, you know. And anyway, there was all this kerfuffle going on on the doors and all that. You know, and Ian Wright had walked in the room, and you got people coming up to him and all that, like, you know. Like, this is one of my idols, you know what I mean? Always wanted to meet him.
My biggest idol, I'll be honest.
Yeah. And it was an unbelievable thing. And anyway, like, I remember him, like, I was talking to someone else, and I got a tap on the shoulder, turned around, and it was Ian Wright. And he said, Lee, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. So I've gone, well, I've been wanting to meet you for 20 years, you know what I mean? Like, and we had this hug. And he was doing a show in Nottingham, which I was going to about 2 weeks later. So I said, "Oh, you're in Nottingham in a couple of weeks." And doing a show in Nottingham. He said, and he said, "Oh, what, you there?" Like, so he says, "Make sure you come and see me and we'll have a chat and all that, like, you know what I mean? So I said, yeah, all right then, like. So he does the speech. He was going to work for Sky Sports afterwards. So he does his speech as he's going out. The people are going towards him, and he makes a beeline for me, and he says, "I'll see you in a couple of weeks up in Nottingham, like, and don't forget, come and see me." So I'm now floating on the ceiling, like, do you know what I mean? Like, from this meeting, like, you know. And then of course they bring out all these awards things, and they forget to you know, I've just like brushed, not given an award or anything like that. It wasn't an award. It was just, you know, like an award for what.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for services that you've done. I've been doing it for about 3 years at the time, like, you know, and I was standing there with all these people, you know, Claude, God bless him, Ty, and everybody. They've all got these this great big lovely thing, like, you know what I mean? And it was all live on
Yeah, I was
YouTube.
watching it. I was shocked. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my phone's going, like, you know, and my partner Michelle was rung me, and she said, "You all right?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm all right, yeah," you know what I mean? She says, like, "I'm fuming." So I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, like, "It's something like they've left you out. The people are saying it's out of order and everything like that." And I went, "Yeah, it was a bit out of order, really, but I was still on a little bit of a high with the Ian Wright thing, you know what I mean?" So I said, but I've met Ian Wright, you know what I mean? Like, and he knows who I am, Michelle, like, you know what I mean? So but then I got a couple more calls. It was a real weird thing because I weren't that bothered about it at first. And then, like, a few of my mates were phoning out going, "You all right? You all right?" And that sort of made me start thinking, like, do you know what I mean? And then I was in at the do, and people were coming up to me going, "Oh, that's out of order, them leaving. Are you all right? You all right?" So I thought, something's not right here, like, you know what I mean? So I should be having the hump here, sort of thing. And then people kept coming up to me, and I thought, oh well. So I just thought, oh, I'll just do the old exit and leave, and that's what I've done. I've done the exit and left. And I think, if I remember rightly, we was playing we'd played the League Cup final against Man City on the Sunday. And this must have been on the Monday or the Tuesday. And we got Man City on the Thursday in the league. And it was a game, well, I don't know if you remember, we lost 3-0, but it was like snowing. It was really, really cold, freezing cold temperatures. And lots of people didn't go and whatever. And I went with my mate Russ, and he was saying, "Oh, that's out of order what they'd done." And a few people have said it was out of order and everything like that. And I'd got a call from I can't remember who it was from now. It said, like, make sure you do your interview today because, like, you know, they're going to give you your award there, like, do you know what I mean? And I thought, well, no, I don't want the award now. It's done, you know what I mean? Like, and I just thought, well, it was freezing cold, and I thought, well, you know, to be honest, they don't really appreciate me because of that. Like, I ain't going to stand out there in the freezing cold doing an interview, like, you know what I mean? And so I went home. I didn't bother doing one, like, you know what I mean? And that was the side of it. Of course, then Robbie, like, phones me up the next day and says, "Look, you know, we need to have a chat. I'm really sorry about what happened and everything like that." But I didn't shun it because of that. It was just, it was freezing cold. And I might not. I don't really know, like, you know what I mean, what I would have done then. But Robbie rung me up, and he come down he made the effort and come down the shop and give me the award and apologise for it and all that, like, you know. So that wasn't the reason that when that was it. Then we was all right. But then the channel was getting lots of, you know, I didn't like how it was going. Wasn't. I've always been a fan of the channel. I've always, you know, after games, watched videos and things like that. I actually stopped watching them. I weren't enjoying it, like, and I felt, so I phoned up Robbie and I said, "Look, I'm going to knock it on the head, I think, like, you know what I mean?" And he said, "Oh, don't do that. Let's have a chat. What do you think's wrong?" And I said to him what I think's wrong. One of the things that I said wrong is that, you know, I'm a big Arsenal fan. Arsenal's I don't want Arsenal fans not liking me because of this sort of thing, like, do you know what I mean? And he turned around and he said, "Lee, I promise you, I'm I'm changing things. I'm going to do this, and do that. And to his credit, he did. You know what I mean? Brought in a couple of more presenters that have been brilliant, James and Cecil, and he's changed really the way of it. He's got rid of a couple of people like Troops. Nothing against him, he left and that, but then a couple of others have gone by, and he's just revamped it all in a more positive way. It's always going to get a little bit of stick, Dave, because it's the way that it is. There's a lot of can I say it, jealousy out there. There's a lot of other things that, because of what's gone in the past, is some that people don't forgive it. And the fact of the matter is that it's so big now. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a massive thing. So yeah, and that was the reason that I stayed. And then obviously, like, you know, from there on, you know, working for them like on a full-time basis now. So you know. You know, going, like, we went to America last year, following them out there, going to America this year. Like, you know, I have to pinch myself, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, oh, I'm working, but I ain't, you know what I mean? And then, like, other opportunities have come from it as well, like, you know. So, but I get why people didn't like it at one stage, because I was there myself. I find myself now watching it again. And that's a good thing, like, you know what I mean? So, and I enjoy some of the people that are on there. Some I don't watch. I'm not going to lie. Some I don't watch. Some I do. And I think that it's got back to a more grounded sort of platform now, like, you know. And you know, like, you've always got the one or two, Dave, you know what I mean, that are going to criticise for whatever, and others that are not going to. But listen, every fan base is like that. Every fan's got their horrible ones, and everyone's got their ones that are deluded as well. You know what I mean? That can't see anything wrong with the team, and I think that's the way it is, you know. And but I think one of the things that people don't like is change. Don't like changing football, and the way we watch football now and do that. You know, like, listen, Sky have embraced it now, and they like to have fans on there now.
Well, I was told when I do my Monday show that I've been doing, like, for the last sort of 12, 13 years on non-league football, and we sort of changed it just before COVID around doing what we're doing here by doing it by Zoom and all the rest of it. And I was told, I won't say who said it, but somebody in a high position in non-league turned around to me and said it's not professional. It's not the way things should be done. You should be doing it all face to face. You should be doing this. You should be doing that, and basically, you know, sort of scathed it. And look at it now. Sky Sports doing it. You know, Arsenal Fan TV are doing it. BBC are doing it. ITV are doing it. You don't very often now see a face-to-face interview anymore, because it's easier to do it over Zooms and Skypes and stuff like that, because of the distancing people are.
100%. And what you do is great. And I, you know, like the non-league, you know, the thing is, non-league people, like players, if I was playing there, you watch it. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's all about. And you've got something there that listen, there's always going to be haters. Whatever you do, there's going to be people that are going to criticise you. You've got to have a thick skin. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of people would like to be doing what you're doing, and they haven't had that idea and not done it. You know, I know that I'm in a very, very fortunate position. I know that, like, you know what I mean? So I'm you know, very humble about that, as probably you are doing what you're doing and all that. Like, but at the end of the day, you can come and interview me here or at home, like, you know what I mean? But, like, for instance, like, oh, let's meet at, I don't know, like, we've done that one at Avery, that sort of time. You know, that's an hour there, hour back. But, you know what I mean? Like, now, at the end of the day, you know, not everybody's going to do it for nothing or whatever.
No,
like,
absolutely.
you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, because time is precious. You know what I mean? Like, for everybody. So, you know, but when I've done that show, met some good people on that, and still friends with them to this day. Like, you know, so you know, there is great things about meeting people and doing things face to face. But sometimes, you know what I mean, it's logical. You know, like, I'm very, very good friends with Kevin, but Kevin lives in Manchester, so you know, I'm not going to travel up to Manchester to interview him or interview me. So, like, it's just easier to do it on here. I'm just in a way talking to things now, doing things for Rio Ferdinand. You know what I mean? But obviously, he's up there in I think South London. I think he lives now, but he's all around, and he, like, you know what I mean. So,
So, I mean, one last question for you on Arsenal Fan TV before we ask you about you finish on your vet stuff for the Abbey. Am I right about your last trip that you had? So my question to you is, was it Cecil that nicked your Kit Kat?
Bloody no, it's bloody Julian that nicked me Kit Kat. Wasn't it? Can you believe that? Like, you know what I mean? Now, what happened was we went out to America, like, obviously, like, and we were in what do they call Airbnb, like, you know, this
Yeah.
bloody lovely mansion it was, with all rooms and a swimming pool and everything like that. Like, now, Robbie said, right, the greatest thing, like, this is what they say, got somebody there that's American, like, Steve. He's going to go to the supermarket, get everything you need for the house and everything like that. But also, then, you know, if you want something for yourself, just put it in the fridge. You know, buy it and put it in the fridge. So I bought myself this Kit Kat, you know, and I put it in the fridge. You know what I mean? Like, say, like, you want some Diet Cokes. You know what I mean? Like, there was all there. But if you wanted a few beers, you just bought them and put them in the fridge and everything like that. Like, you know. So I've got this Kit Kat, and I thought, oh, I fancy that Kit Kat. Now I've gone to open it up. There's just a wrapper. Someone's head. Now, it turned out to be Julian. I thought it was Cecil, but it wasn't. It was Julian. You know, he's let me Kit Kat, and I thought that was out of order, like, you know what I mean? So, so that's where that comes from. And do you know what? I've gone to grow up into the first game of the season. So that we done that in the summer in July. So at the end of the season, gone to the Emirates Cup, and people were coming up to me. I swear down, I'm not lying and all that, and buying me Kit Kats and going, hey, like, and I know that Julian nicked your Kit Kat. I had about 4 Kit Kats. I went over to Portugal, and a lovely couple bought me a couple of Kit Kats and said, there's one in orange flavour and normal flavour and all things like that. Weird. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that come from that, like, you know. So check that out.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. It was funny. It really was funny.
Yeah,
just your reaction, I think, made it funny. Do you know what I mean? Because it was funny.
Yeah, well, do you know what happened? I'll tell you how that happened was, right. I actually, you know, like, this is where they're very, very creative. Like, I opened the fridge, and I've gone, sneak my fucking Kit Kat, like, you know what I mean? So when I said that, the fella that produces and does all the back camera stuff said, don't, stop. Let me go and get my camera, right? So he says, right, I want you to open up the fridge again. Who's nicked your Kit Kat? And then just be like what you would normally say, like, from there, it's going to be normal, like. So it wasn't staged or anything like that. So I've opened it up again. So that's the only bit of acting I did, was open it up and said, who's nicked my Kit Kat, like? And then, like, I've gone, right, Cecil, that's you. Like, do you know what I mean? And then, like, you know what I mean? That's where it and if you ever want to check out that video, Orlando, like, you know what I mean, you've got to put in some Kit Kat and you'll see the scene, like, you know. And that's how it went from there, like, yeah. So mad one. Again, that went mad. Everybody went mad on that, like, you know. And just one little thing like that, and yeah. So yeah, he nicked me Kit Kat. Can you believe it? I'd never do that, though. Would you do that? You know what I mean? He just thought, oh, it was a free for all in there. And the thing was, Julian wasn't even staying in there in that house. So realistically, he just to come round for breakfast every day. He was living round the corner, and so he'd come in for breakfast, like, you know what I mean. So he had no right to go down the bloody fridge in the first place.
Great stuff. But I mean, with your vets, if we go to finish on with your vets football,
yeah.
I mean, how did that all start for you again? And was it Mr. Hodges pulling you in?
No. Funny enough, I was playing for Ware. And played for them for a couple of years. Enjoyed playing there. A few of the lads asked me to come over, and I'd play. You know, and then Waltham Abbey. We played against Waltham Abbey in that league and all that, like. And one of the guys I used to play with was playing over at the Abbey. It just said to me, "Why don't you come and play for us?" Like, you know. And so I said, "Yeah, okay." You know, like, they're a good team. Play some good stuff. The Ware was sort of getting too old and losing a few players and everything like that, and they actually folded that year. So otherwise, I probably would have stayed with them. But then, like, so I said, yeah, okay, I'll come over to Waltham Abbey. One of the main attractions, without a shadow of a doubt, Dave, is their pitch. It's like a bowling green. It is absolutely beautiful. First game I went over there, funny enough, was September. It was a sunny day, and I get so they've got all the sprinklers on and all that. You know, they got the underground sprinklers.
Mm.
And so I said, well, this is pretty goes now. John, who's the chairman over there, says he treats the vets, the disability side, exactly the same as if it was a first team game. So if the pitch needed watering and it was a vets game, it gets watered. If it, you know what I mean, like so the kits. Like at the beginning of the season, he buys the first team kit, disabled kit for the disability people, and our kit. So they're all the same kits and all that, like, you know. And so like the first team and they all wear the same kits. None of this like, oh, you can have the hand-me-downs and all that. It's proper stuff. And we got some fantastic footballers over there. Like, you know, our midfield has got players, as I said, like about 35, 30, 36, 37 have played at conference. Do you remember when Waltham Abbey went to the Southern Conference? Was it? Yeah. I think South Premier and all that. Like a few of the guys that were in that team playing that team. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, you know, and obviously, like I was sort of playing, you know, held my own for a few years in the team, but then obviously picked up I had to have a knee operation last summer on my cartilage, and I thought, oh, am I going to be able to come back? But I tell you what, the lads have been fantastic. Get yourself fit. We want you over here still. So I had the operation and come back, and you know, which was a great thing. The manager, Michael, said to me, look, you know, it's going to be hard to get regular game in the middle. Would you like to go out wide? So I said, oh, like, you know, back to where I started when I was at school, like, you know what I mean? So, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, we're a good side. We've got 2 games left in the league. We're 4 points clear, so we only need to win one out of our next 2 games to win the league. And as I say, we've got a cup final on Sunday, so we could actually win the double this year, like, you know. So, and you know, it's a good standard. Good players in it all around. Some lovely pitches you play on, you know. Broxbourne's pitch, first team pitch. Aylesbury's got a lovely pitch over there. Buntingford play on their first team pitch over there. So there's nice pitches, and then you've got a couple of and if people have seen the photos of this one, like you know, like
on Sunday, it looked like someone cut the grass but hadn't bothered to rake it off.
Yeah, they hadn't bothered to rake it, so they look like, you know, we coming over there, and this is you know, football now, and it grassroots football, pardon the pun. But they've all gone and got their rakes. All the other team, like all 12 players, as we're turning up, they've all got their rakes. Bought their rakes with them, and they're raking it all off, like, you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm being really honest. You know, that would never have happened back in my day. You know what I mean? Like the councils and that looked after the pitches. You know what I mean? So. And it's really unbelievable. It's a really nice pitch over there normally. So yeah, so you're playing a couple of park pitches as well. But you know, I've loved it, and I think maybe this is probably my last year. Injuries and you know, like as I say, like last 3 days, I haven't been able to go. I haven't been able to go out of the house. I haven't been able to move. So I'm fortunate that I've been able to put things back, because we were supposed to do this on the Monday. Was it the Monday we were supposed to do this? And I was still in the hospital, like, you know. And so I'm lucky I can put things back a little bit, like, you know. And you know, and I feel for a lot of players out there in non-league that, you know, have got to work and get injured and can't work, and but we all do it for the love of the game, don't we? And playing, and that's that love. You take those risks with that love, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, mate, it's been amazing hour and a bit talking to you. I could talk to you all day long, in all fairness.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like that, right? It's great talking about yourself, isn't it? Like that,
right? But stay with me, because I've got a couple of bits to ask you once we finish. But a massive thank you to Lee for joining us. I do wish you all the very, very best for your own channel, of course, also for AFTV and everything else that you're doing as well. Wish you all the very, very best for that in the future. And of course, also to Waltham Abbey Vets for the last few games that they've got as well. But a massive thank you, as I said to Lee, massive thank you to everybody for watching today. And on the next episode, bit of a connection to Lee, actually, because we've actually got Lee Allenson, the current manager of Hendon Football Club. He's going to join us in our next episode. His dad joined us earlier on, and now, of course, it's going to be the son's time. But until next time, thanks for watching and good night.